Recording in progress.
Okay, whatever. One feature that we will not have this week, I apologize, but okay, nonetheless, we're here. It's the 81st edition. 81 shows, people. Wow. Amazing. Okay. All right. Ooh, excuse me. Copy will fix that. All right. Number 81. And I hope I say this correctly for all of you Italians out there. Galileo Galilei is our 81st subject. This man was the first man to discover planets and stars with a telescope. We can say he's the modern father of astrology, astronomy. Big difference. But first, we have our reports. Hello, Celia. Hey, it lets me wave at least on IG. That's about it. Okay, here we go. It's time for our vaccination report. Okay, almost there. Bear with me. Okay, 1 minute. Not fully prepared. I apologize for that. Oh my goodness. Cue the boring music while you wait for somebody to answer the phone. I apologize, everybody. I have certain countries that I want to report, and they're not on the screen for some reason. Okay, now we can start. Goodness gracious. Here we go. Boring, Brandon, boring. Finally, here we go. Okay. Let's talk about total vaccinations, people. So far, the world has done 6.11 billion doses. China, 2.19 billion. India, 852 million. By the way, I spoke to one of my Indian students yesterday, and he tells me that life is almost normal in India. So that's nice. United States, 389 million. We're not doing decimals today. Brazil, 230. Japan, 156. Indonesia, 133. By the way, this is million. Turkey, 107. Germany, 106. Mexico, 98. France, 93. UK, 93. Russia, 89. Italy, 83. Pakistan, 76. Spain, 69, almost 70 million. Canada, 55. Thailand, 46. Iran, 43. Philippines, 43. Bangladesh, 39. Vietnam, 37. Chile, 31. United Arab Emirates, 19, almost 20. South Africa, 16. Portugal, 15. Taiwan, 14. Egypt, 13. Singapore, 9. Denmark, 8. Hong Kong, 8.5. Finland, 7. Ireland, 7. Serbia, 6. Nigeria, 6. That's good for Nigeria. Uruguay, 6. Kenya, 3. Ethiopia, 3. Tanzania, 350,000. You know what? Boop, off the list. Okay, by continent. Asia, 4.1 billion. Killing everybody else. Europe, 789 million. North America, 609 million. The EU, 558 million. South America, 428 million. And Africa, 140 million doses. It's a lot. Okay, and now we're going to do this. This is the share of people that are fully vaccinated. So we have UAE with 92%. Wow. Portugal, 88. Spain, 80. Singapore, 79. Uruguay, 78. Chile, 78. Denmark, 77. Canada, 76. China, 76. 76% of the Chinese are vaccinated. Wow. 75 for Ireland and Finland. Italy, 74. France, 74. United Kingdom, 71. Japan, 67. Germany, 63. United States, 54. Turkey, 51. Hong Kong, 54. Look at that. Taiwan, 8.67%. Mexico, 33. India, 15. I thought there was more. The world, 32%. Unbelievable. Serbia, 42. Thailand, 22. Iran, 16. Okay, Russia, 28. Indonesia, 17. Vietnam, 7%. Pakistan, 11. Philippines, 14. South Africa, almost 14. Bangladesh, a very low 9. Egypt, only 4.89%. Kenya, 1.6. Ethiopia, 0.63. And Nigeria, 0.84. Once again, you can tell only the rich countries have a lot. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Well, hold on, let's read this first. 44.4% of the world population has received at least one dose of a COVID-19 vaccine. 6.11 billion doses have been administered globally, and 25.54 million are now administered each day. Only 2.2% of people in low-income countries have received at least one dose. Okay, nothing shocking. Nothing shocking at all. All right, that's going to do it for the 81st edition of the vaccine report. And now we are going to move on to the astrology report. Astrology. This is good for our subject today. Okay. Let's get right into it, shall we? As always, we will be starting with Aries. Okay. And here we go. Aries. Forward movement grinds to a halt as Mercury goes retrograde this week. Ooh. This week begins with the Sun in Libra, your house of relationships, making a trine to the North Node in Gemini, in your house of communications. On the same day, Mercury in Libra goes retrograde. I just said that. Okay, twice. You could be suddenly tongue-tied today when someone gives you an unexpected compliment. Now you're wondering if there's meaning behind what they said. Could a romance be brewing? With Mercury now retrograde, you'll have to wait to find out. On Wednesday, September 29th, there are two aspects starting with Venus in Scorpio in your house of intimacy, making a trine to Neptune in Pisces. Your imagination is working overtime. You may be quite obsessed with some tantalizing thoughts. There could be leftover images in your head from a movie you saw or a steamy novel you've been reading. Aries, this could put you in a romantic mood for when you and your sweetheart get together. Okay. On to Taurus. No way, Tiger chose here. Okay, Tiger, I'll be with you shortly. Hang in there, buddy. Okay, back to the reading. All right, Taurus, things slow to a reasonable pace as Mercury changes directions this week. This week begins with the Sun in Libra in your house of routines, making a trine to the North Node in Gemini in your house of money. On the same day, Mercury goes retrograde in Libra. Today, you might be looking at your routines to see if you can find ways to save cash. This might be switching to a home water filter, making your own cleaning products, or making lattes in your own kitchen. Saving a few pennies here and there can save you hundreds or possibly thousands of dollars a year. So on Wednesday, there are two aspects, starting with Venus in Scorpio in your house of relationships, making a trine to Neptune in Pisces. You may start the day with some seriously romantic thoughts. Taurus, you and your sweetheart might want to stay in bed a little longer for some pillow talk. If you're looking for love, this is an excellent day to upload some new photos to your profile. You're sure to attract some attention now. Okay. Moving on to Gemini. Gemini, your reading this week goes, you may have a short fuse as Mercury retrograde crosses wires this week. Pesky Mercury. This week begins with the Sun in Libra in your house of adventure, making a trine to the North Node in Gemini in your house of confidence. On the same day, Mercury goes retrograde in Libra. You may have a sudden desire to take off to a favorite mountain spot or a local shoreline. You need a little adventure today. Start early, as it will take a little convincing to get a friend or family member to go with you. Okay, on Wednesday, there are two aspects, starting with Venus in Scorpio in your house of work and routines, making a trine to Neptune in Pisces in your house of career. Gemini, you can make an enormous headway at your job by taking a few moments to envision a better experience. Consider asking yourself questions that the celestial muse will answer. How can I make this job more fun? How can I do this job in half the time? How can I get a better job? Hi, Nancy. Welcome to the show. I can't wait for some. There we go. We're talking about Galileo Galilei, the world famous astronomer today, as our subject. Okay, that does it for Gemini. On to Cancer. First, the astrology report, and then vocabulary, and then we're going to talk to Tiger today, I think, if he's still there. Okay, Cancer, the road could be rocky this week as Mercury stops and changes directions. This week begins with the Sun in Libra in your house of ancestors, making a trine to the North Node in Gemini in your house of past lives. On the same day, Mercury goes retrograde in Libra. Today, you may be speaking to distant relatives or investigating the family tree through a genealogy website. Bleh. It's possible you are looking at your lineage through your DNA. This is a good day to think about where you came from. I like that. Okay. Excuse me. On Wednesday, there are two aspects, starting with Venus in Scorpio in your house of romance, making a trine to Neptune in Pisces in your house of exploration. You might be ready to dive into a relationship. This could mean going on a first date. You might engage a matchmaker or post to an online dating site you've never tried before. Cancer, by seeing this as an adventure, you are fearless and therefore magnetic. Okay, on to Leo. If you're there, Tiger, this is yours. Okay, Leo, don't be too quick to make a judgment. There are benefits if you're willing to stop and sift through the information. This week begins with the sun in Libra in your house of communication, making a trine to the North Node in Gemini in your house of friendships. On the same day, Mercury goes retrograde in Libra. Today, you could hear from an old friend just when you were thinking about this person. This transit of Mercury retrograde over the next few weeks could bring many people back to you. On Wednesday, there are two aspects, starting with Venus in Scorpio in your house of home and family, making a trine to Neptune in Pisces in your house of resources. If you're looking for funds to fix up the house, it's time to do a little money magic. Leo, make sure that feng shui around the front door is good by clearing out the clutter. Set the bowl filled with coins and clear quartz crystals on a table by the front door. Now you're calling money. You hear that, Tiger? We're going to start making some money. Oh, he said bye-bye. No. Okay. On to Virgo. Virgo, you will not be hemmed in this week. You're ready to escape. This week begins with the sun in Libra in your house of money, making a trine to the North Node in Gemini in your house of career. On the same day, Mercury goes retrograde in Libra. Today, you may be rethinking your career and quite seriously looking for another job. Now that Mercury has gone retrograde, you might go back to a company you applied to previously to see if there's a new position open. Or you may go to your current manager to ask for a promotion. Just make sure you begin the job outside the retrograde period, beginning October 18th. On Wednesday, there are two aspects starting with Venus in Scorpio in your house of communication, making a trine to Neptune in Pisces in your house of relationships. Oh, what a romantic aspect filled with songs and poetry. Virgo, grab your sweetheart and do something really fun together. Rent a canoe and paddle on a quiet lake. Sit at the back of a movie theater and make out. Okay, start in bed eating strawberries and drinking champagne. All right, Virgo, steamy, on our way to Libra. All right, Libra, don't underestimate your power. Being modest won't win you any prizes this week. This week begins with the sun in Libra in your house of confidence, making a trine to the North Node in Gemini in your house of wisdom and understanding. On the same day, Mercury goes retrograde in Libra. Today, you could get a familiar reminder that you are quite capable of handling more. There's no reason to hold back any longer and no reason to sell yourself short. Today's a day to stand up and be counted. Okay, on Wednesday, there are two aspects, starting with Venus in Scorpio in your house of money, making a trine to Neptune in Pisces in your house of work. Today, you can remove a limitation on your money flow by recognizing a potential passive income source. Leo, no. Libra, this may have been something that has crossed your desk before. Now it shows up with a possible mentor to guide you through the steps to make this happen. All right. Chiming in next is Scorpio. Scorpio, you can attract what you want into your life. You just need to be clear about what it is. This week begins with the sun in Libra in your house of rest and recuperation, making a trine to the North Node in Gemini in your house of power. Time to recharge your batteries. Today is a good day for yoga, meditation, or just staying in your pajamas all day. Turn off electronics and listen to the music of the universe. Have your journal beside you as you'll be receiving messages. Additionally, an animal friend may come and bring you a sign. All right, on Wednesday, there are two aspects starting with Venus in your own sign of Scorpio and in your house of personal attraction, making a trine to Neptune in Pisces in your house of romance. Your magnetism is off the charts today. Scorpio, your come hither look could bring possibilities from near and far. Today, you can meet someone with whom you have strong chemistry. And even if you don't take advantage of this opportunity, at least know that you still got it. All right. On to Sagittarius. Sagittarius, finding a way forward this week is about following your intuition. This week begins on Sunday with the Sun in Libra in your house of friendships, making a trine to the North Node in Gemini in your house of relationships. If you're looking for love, look no further than your friends. Allow someone you know to fix you up on a date. Sagittarius, you're going to feel comfortable today meeting someone who comes with a good recommendation. Trust your friends to help you find your new soulmate. On Wednesday, there are two aspects starting with Venus in Scorpio in your house of intuition, making a trine to Neptune in Pisces in your house of ancestors. Today, you are connected to family members who lived long ago. Sagittarius, you have a spiritual connection to magical people from the past. This is a good day to explore your psychic ability. Pull out your tarot cards or pendulum and practice. All right, on to Capricorn. Capricorn, often sticking to a plan is the thing to do, but it's challenging this week. This week begins with the Sun in Libra in your house of career, making a trine to the North Node in Gemini in your house of work. Today, you can break through a career block, one that has been holding you back for some time. Consider applying for a job, whether you have all the qualifications or not. If the job is the right one for you, doors will open. Find several job openings you're interested in and post your resume. All right, on Wednesday, there are two aspects, starting with Venus in Scorpio in your house of friendships, making a trine to Neptune in Pisces in your house of communication. You may be feeling on top of the world as a close friend lets you know what you mean to them. They may be thanking you for advice or the help you've given them. Capricorn, they are singing your praises, and not just to you, but to many people. Good for you, Capricorn. All right, on to Aquarius. Aquarius, you could break out of your routine and walk a new path this week. This week begins with the Sun in Libra in your house of knowledge, making a trine to the North Node in Gemini in your house of children and creativity. You could be helping kids with homework today, or preparing yourself for a standardized test. This is also a good day for you to check out instructional YouTube videos like how to paint a mural, make a kite, or knit a sweater. On Wednesday, there are two aspects starting with Venus in Scorpio in your house of career, making a trine to Neptune in Pisces in your house of cash. You want to make more money at your job? It's time for a little money magic. Aquarius, making a direct request to the universe by lighting a metallic gold candle and making a wish for money. Or take some money oil and rub it on the bottoms of your feet. You can send your message along the spiritual phone lines now. Okay. Last but not least, Pisces. Pisces, the universe is working with you and sending you symbols to guide you. This week begins with the Sun in Libra in your house of resources, making a trine to the North Node in Gemini in your house of foundations. Through some research, you could discover several good investments today. You may consider filling out an online application to get credit at a low interest rate. Pisces luck is with you at this time, especially in financial matters. This is a good time to ask for money. On Wednesday, there are two aspects starting with Venus in Scorpio in your house of beliefs and spirituality, making a trine to Neptune in your own sign of Pisces. You may feel more connected to the universe right now. Signs and symbols are everywhere. You might see multiples of numbers or animal signs such as a hawk in the sky or a bunny crossing your path. Make a note of the different symbols the universe sends you today. Pisces, the signs are adding up to the answer you're looking for. All right, that's going to do it for this week's astrology report. Okay, guys, you know that brings us to my favorite part of the show, this week's 81st edition of vocabulary. Okay. And it looks like we lost Tiger. Doggone it. Okay. He must have been in a hurry. Okay. All right, guys, it's time for vocabulary. So, having said that, let's get on with it, shall we? The first word of this week is astronomy. Astronomy. Say it with me, everybody. Astronomy. Very good. Okay, astronomy is the study of objects and matter outside the Earth's atmosphere and on their physical and chemical properties. Part of speech? Noun. All right. Number 2 for this week is galaxy. Galaxy. Say it with me, everybody. Galaxy. Super good. Okay. Galaxy is any of the very large groups of stars and associated matter that are found throughout the universe. Part of speech, noun. Once again. All right. Third vocab of this week is telescope. Telescope. Say it with me, everybody. Telescope. Sounded good. Okay, telescope is a noun. It's often attributive. Okay. A usually tubular optical instrument for viewing distant objects by means of the refraction of light rays through a lens or the reflection of light rays by a concave mirror. Any of various tubular magnifying optical instruments. That is telescope. Okay, number 4 is interstellar. Interstellar. Say it loud. Say it proud. Interstellar. Very good. Okay. Interstellar is an adjective. Okay, located, taking place, or traveling among the stars, especially of the Milky Way galaxy. Our home galaxy. That's interstellar, peeps. All right. On to number 5. Universe. Universe. Say it with me, everybody. Universe. Very good. Okay. Part of speech, noun. The whole body of things and phenomena observed and postulated. The world or the entire celestial cosmos. An aggregate of stars comparable to the Milky Way galaxy. Universe. All right. Brings us to number 6. Magnify. Magnify. Say it with me, everybody. Magnify. Why magnify, you ask? Well, magnify is what a telescope does, and that's what Galileo did to see the first planets on a telescope. Magnify, verb tense. To increase in significance, to cause to be held in greater esteem or respect, to enlarge in fact or appearance. To have the power of causing objects to appear larger than they are. Magnify. Okay. On to number 6, orbit. Orbit. Say it with me, everybody. Orbit, very good. Okay. Orbit is a noun. And it is a path by one body in its revolution around another, as by the Earth about the sun or by an electron about an atomic nucleus. One complete revolution of a body describing such a path. A circular path. Orbit. Verb tense. Not tense, verb. Part of speech, verb. To revolve in an orbit around. To send up and make revolve in an orbit. Okay. Orbit, people. Number 8 this week, celestial. Celestial. Not an easy one to say, but say it with me anyway. Celestial. You did it. Good job. Celestial is an adjective of relating to or suggesting heaven or divinity, of or relating to the sky or visible heavens. Celestial. Okay. On to number 9, cosmos. Cosmos. Say it with me, everybody. Cosmos. Very good. Okay. The word cosmos is a noun, and this essentially means universe, an orderly, harmonious, systematic universe. And that is cosmos. Okay. Moving on to number 10, dark matter. Nice picture. Dark matter. Say it with me, everybody. Dark matter. Very good. Okay. Dark matter is a noun. It is non-luminous matter, not yet directly detected by astronomers, that is hypothesized to exist to account for various observed gravitational effects. So essentially, everything that we see in the sky at night that is black, that's dark matter, peeps. All right, on to number 11, gravitation. Gravitation. Say it with me, everybody. Gravitation. Very good. Okay, this is another noun. Okay, this is a force manifested by acceleration toward each other of two free material particles or bodies of radiant energy quanta. Gravitation. Okay, on to number 12, meteor. Meteor. Say it with me, everybody. Meteor. Very good. Okay. Meteor is a noun. It's an atmospheric phenomenon such as lightning or a snowfall or any of the small particles of matter in the solar system that are directly observable only by their incandescence from frictional heating or entry into the atmosphere. Meteor. You can say meteor or meteor. I like meteor better. Probably not correct though. All right, guys. And last but not least, and such a relevant word for our man, Galileo Galilei, observatory. Observatory. Say it with me, everybody. Observatory. Very good. Okay. Observatory is a noun. It is a building or place given over to or equipped for observation of natural phenomena, as in astronomy. An institution whose primary purpose is making such observations. This is where all of the magic happens with discovering new stars and planets at the observatory. Okay, guys. That's it for all of our reports. Where's my man Tiger now? He's gone. Looks like he just gave me a couple of highs and a bye-bye. Okay, well, Tiger, it would have been great to see you, but I understand you're probably busy. I know student schedules these days are really hectic. So, okay, finally the subject, number 81, Galileo Galilei. I hope I'm saying this correct. You know what? I have a little program that I use for that. You guys can hear it really fast. I want to make sure I'm not murdering this really important man's name. Let's see if I can do that. Okay, this might be funny.
Galileo Galilei.
Galilei, I was wrong.
Galileo Galilei. Galileo Galilei.
Galilei. Galileo Galilei. Okay, I got it. All right. I was close. Makes me want to completely redo the show now. Joking. Okay, guys, we're talking about Galileo as he's known. Most people know it. They don't even know his last name, I don't think. When I was growing up and we were talking about this man in history class and in science class, everybody just said Galileo. So, but okay, let's learn about Galileo, shall we? His name is so long. His real name, Galileo di Vincenzo Bonaiuto de Galilei. Wow. He was born on the 15th of February, 1564. And he died on January 8th, 1642. He was an Italian astronomer, physicist, and engineer, sometimes described as a polymath from Pisa. Galileo had been called the father of observational astronomy and the father of modern physics and the father of scientific method and the father of modern science. It's a lot of titles. He's a multiple father. Okay. Galileo studied speed and velocity, gravity and free fall, the principle of relativity, inertia, projectile motion, and also worked in applied science and technology, describing the properties of pendulums and hydrostatic balances. Can you imagine the sophistication that this man had back in the 1500s, 16th century? Okay. This was a long time ago. We're talking almost a little over 400 years ago here. Wow. Very smart, very intelligent man. He invented the thermoscope and various military compasses and used the telescope for scientific observations of celestial objects. His contributions to observational astronomy include telescopic confirmation of the phases of Venus, observation of the 4 largest satellites of Jupiter, observation of Saturn's rings, and analysis of sunspots. This man knew about sunspots back in the 16th century. Wow. Okay. Galileo's championing of Copernican heliocentrism, Earth rotating daily and revolving around the sun, was met with opposition from within the Catholic Church and from some astronomers. The matter was investigated by the Roman Inquisition in 1615, when concluded that heliocentrism was foolish, absurd, and heretical since it contradicted Holy Scripture. Here we go. Science and religion. All right. Galileo later defended his views in dialogue concerning the 2 chief world systems, which appeared to attack Pope Urban VIII and thus alienated both the Pope and the Jesuits, who had both supported Galileo up until this point. He was tried by the Inquisition, found vehemently suspect of heresy, and forced to recant. He spent the rest of his life under house arrest. During this time, he wrote The 2 New Sciences, primarily concerning kinematics and the strength of materials, summarizing work he had done around 40 years earlier. Do you see how that works? But back in these days, when we actually had somebody that knew what they were talking about, that did proper research and had scientific proof, they either killed them, put them in jail, or made them stay at their home the rest of their life. Oh, not cool. Not cool. This man was such a genius and they stashed him away. Okay, Galileo was born in Pisa, then part of the Duchy of Florence, Italy, on 15th of February, 1564, the first of 6 children of Vincenzo Galilei. Did I say it right this time? Galilei, right? Yeah. A lutenist, composer, and music theorist. And Julia Ammannati, who had married in 1562. Galileo became an accomplished lutenist himself and would have learned early from his father a skepticism for established authority. Okay, so his dad was a rebel. 3 of Galileo's 5 siblings survived infancy. The youngest, Michelangelo, also became a lutenist and composer who contributed to Galileo's financial burdens for the rest of his life. Michelangelo was unable to contribute his fair share of their father's promised dowries to their brother-in-laws, who would later attempt to seek legal remedies for payments due. Michelangelo would also occasionally have to borrow funds from Galileo to support his musical endeavors and excursions. These financial burdens may have contributed to Galileo's early desire to develop inventions that would bring him additional income. He was also an inventor. Wow. When Galilei was 8, he moved to Florence. He was then left under the care of Muzio Tedaldi for 2 years. When Galileo was 10, he left Pisa to join his family in Florence. And there he was under the tutelage of Jacopo Borghini. He was educated, particularly in logic, from 1875 to 1878 in the Vallombrosa Abbey, about 30 kilometers southeast of Florence. All right. His name, Galileo, tended to refer to himself only by his given name. See, everybody called him Galileo. They weren't worried about Galilei. At the time, surnames were optional in Italy, and his given name had the same origin as his sometimes family name, Galilei. But his given and family name ultimately derived from an ancestor, Galileo Buonaiuti, I think, an important physician, professor, and politician in Florence in the 15th century. Galileo Bonaiuti was buried in the same church, the Basilica of Santa Croce in Florence. Santa Croce, some of these names kill me, where about 200 years later, Galileo Galilei was also buried. When he did refer to himself with more than one name, it was sometimes as Galileo Galilei Linceo, a reference to him being a member of the Accademia dei Lincei, an elite pro-science organization in Italy. It was common for mid-16th century Tuscan families to name the eldest son after the parent's surname. Hence, Galileo Galilei was not necessarily named after his ancestor Galileo Bonaiuti. The Italian male given name Galileo, and thence the surname Galilei, derives from Latin Galileus, meaning of Galilee, a biblically significant region in northern Israel. I thought so. Because of that region, the adjective Galileus means Galilean and was used in antiquity to refer to Christ and his followers. The man had a very religious name. No wonder the Pope was so critical about his studies, right? Okay, let's talk about his career as a scientist, huh? Because that's what he's known for, not his fun name. Although Galileo seriously considered the priesthood, he almost became a priest. Oh, I'm glad he didn't. As a young man, at his father's urging, he instead enrolled in 1850 at the University of Pisa for a medical degree. He was influenced by the lectures of Girolamo Borro and Francesco Buonamici of Florence. These Italian names are killing me. In 1581, when he was studying medicine, he noticed a swinging chandelier which air current shifted about to swing in larger and smaller arcs. To him, it seemed by comparison with his heartbeat that the chandelier took the same amount of time to swing back and forth, no matter how far it was swinging. When he returned home, he set up two pendulums of equal length and swung one with a large sweep and the other with a small sweep, and found they both kept time together. It was not until the work of Christian Huygens, almost 100 years later, that the tautochrone nature of swinging pendulum was used to create an accurate timepiece. Up to this point, Galileo had deliberately been kept away from mathematics, since a physician earned a higher income than a mathematician, of course. However, after accidentally attending a lecture on geometry, he talked his reluctant father into letting him study mathematics and natural philosophy instead of medicine. He created a thermoscope, a forerunner of the thermometer, and in 1586 published a small book on the design of a hydrostatic balance he had invented. Galileo also studied disegno, a term encompassing fine art, and in 1588 obtained the position of instructor in the Accademia delle Arti del Disegno in Florence. I have to speak like an Italian just to say these names. Teaching perspective and chiaroscuro. I have no idea. Being inspired by the artistic tradition of the city and the works of the Renaissance artists, Galileo acquired an aesthetic mentality. While a young teacher at the Accademia, he began a lifelong friendship with the Florentine painter Sigoli. In 1859, he was appointed to the chair of the mathematics in Pisa. In 1591, his father died, and he was entrusted with the care of his younger brother, Michelangelo. 1592, he moved to the University of Padua, where he taught geometry, mechanics, and astronomy until 1610. During this period, Galileo made significant discoveries in both pure fundamental science as well as practical applied science. For example, strength of materials and pioneering the telescope. His multiple interests included the study of the study of astrology, which at that time was a discipline tied to the studies of mathematics and astronomy. Okay, so he did study astrology. Very cool. All right. This is his astronomy. Kepler's supernova. Tycho Brahe and others had observed the supernova of 1572. Ottavio Benizzoni's letter of 15th January 1605 to Galileo brought the 1572 supernova and the less bright nova of 1601 to Galileo's notice. Galileo observed and discussed Kepler's supernova in 1604. Since these new stars displayed no detectable diurnal parallax, Galileo concluded they were distant stars and therefore disapproved the Aristotelian belief in the immutability of the heavens. Wow, complicated writing here. Based on uncertain descriptions of the first practical telescope, which Hans Lippershey tried to patent in the Netherlands in 1608, Galileo in the following year made a telescope with about 3 times magnification. He later made improved versions with up to about 30 times magnification. With a Galilean telescope, the observer could see magnified, upright images on the Earth. It was what is commonly known as the terrestrial telescope or a spyglass. He could also use it to observe the sky. For a time, he was one of those who could construct telescopes good enough for that purpose. On August 25th, 1609, he demonstrated one of his early telescopes with a magnification of about 8 or 9. His telescopes were also a profitable sideline for Galileo, who sold them to merchants who found them useful both at sea and as items of trade. He published his initial telescope, Astronomical Observations, in March of 1610 in a brief treatise entitled Sidereus Nuncius, Starry Messenger. Cool. Okay, now we're going to talk about a few things that he discovered. Very cool. Okay, the moon. On November 30th, 1609, Galileo aimed his telescope at the moon. While not being the first person to observe the moon through a telescope, Galileo was the first to deduce the cause of the uneven waning as light occlusion from lunar mountains and craters. In his study, he also made topographical charts estimating the heights of the mountains. The moon was not what was long. The moon was not what was long, though, to have been a translucent and perfect sphere, as Aristotle claimed, and hardly the first planet, an eternal pearl to magnificently ascend into the heavenly empyrean, as put forth by Dante. Galileo is sometimes credited with the discovery of the lunar libration in latitude in 1632, although Thomas Harriot or William Gilbert might have done it before. A friend of Galileo's, the painter Sigli, included a realistic depiction of the moon in one of his paintings, though probably used his own telescope to make the observation. So he basically discovered all the craters and mountains on the moon. Very cool. Okay, Jupiter's moons. This is huge because Jupiter is much farther away than the moon, obviously. Okay. On January 7th, 1610, Galileo observed with his telescope what he described at the time as 3 fixed stars, totally invisible by their smallness, all close to Jupiter and lying on a straight line through it. Observations on subsequent nights showed that the positions of these stars relative to Jupiter were changing in a way that would have been inexplicable if they had really been fixed stars. On January 10th, Galileo noted that one of them had disappeared, an observation which he attributed to it being hidden behind Jupiter. Within a few days, he concluded that they were orbiting Jupiter. He had discovered 3 of Jupiter's 4 largest moons. He discovered the 4th on January 13th, Galileo named the group of four the Medicean stars in honor of his future patron, Cosimo II de' Medici, Grand Duke of Tuscany, and Cosimo's three brothers. Later, astronomers, however, renamed the Galilean satellites in honor of their discoverer. These satellites were independently discovered by Simon Marius on January 8th, 1610, and are now called Lo Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. The names given by Marius in his Mundus Lovalis, published in 1614. I'm probably murdering a lot of these words. I apologize in advance. Galileo's observations of the satellites of Jupiter caused a revolution in astronomy. A planet with smaller planets orbiting it did not conform to the principles of Aristotelian cosmology, which held all heavenly bodies should circle the Earth. And many astronomers and philosophers initially refused to believe that Galileo could have discovered such a thing. His observations were confirmed by the observatory of Christopher Clavius, and he received a hero's welcome when he visited Rome in 1611. Galileo continued to observe the satellites over the next 18 months, and by mid-1611, he had obtained remarkably accurate estimates for their periods, a feat which Johannes Kepler had believed impossible. All right, he discovered the phases of Venus. On September 1610, Galileo observed that Venus exhibits a full set of phases similar to that of the moon. The heliocentric model of the solar system developed by Nicholas Copernicus predicted that all phases would be visible, since the orbit of Venus around the sun would cause its illuminated hemisphere to face the Earth when it was on the opposite side of the sun, and to face away from Earth when it was on the Earth side of the sun. In Ptolemy's geocentric model, it is impossible for any of the planet's orbits to intersect the spherical shell carrying the sun. Traditionally, the orbit of Venus was placed entirely on the near side of the sun, where it could exhibit only crescent and new phases. It was also possible to place it entirely on the far side of the sun, where it could exhibit only gibbous and full phases. After Galileo's telescopic observations of the crescent, gibbous, and full phases of Venus, the Ptolemaic model became untenable. In the early 17th century, as a result of his discovery, the great majority of astronomers converted to one of the various geoheliocentric planetary models, such as the Tychonic, Capellan, and extended Capellan models, each either with or without a daily rotating Earth. These all explain the phases of Venus without the refutation of full heliocentrism's prediction of stellar parallax. Galileo's discovery of the phases of Venus was thus his most empirically, practically influential contribution to the two-stage transition from full geocentrism to full heliocentrism via geoheliocentrism. Okay, you almost have to be a scholar to read some of this stuff. Okay, Saturn and Neptune. In 1610, Galileo also observed the planet Saturn, and at first mistook its rings for planets, thinking it was a three-bodied system. When he observed the planet later, Saturn's rings were directly oriented at Earth, causing him to think that two of the bodies had disappeared. The rings appeared when he observed the planet in 1616, further confusing him. Can you imagine looking at Saturn for the first time back in the 1600s? Who'd be probably really freaked out? I know I would have. Okay, Galileo observed the planet Neptune in 1612. It appears in his notebooks as one of many unremarkable dim stars. He did not realize that it was a planet, but he did note its motion relative to the stars before losing track of it. All right, now his discovery of sunspots. Galileo made naked eye and telescopic studies of sunspots. He could see the sunspots with his eyes. He was staring at the sun. Okay, their existence raised another difficulty with the unchanging perfection of the heavens as posited in orthodox Aristotelian celestial physics. Why can't I say Aristotelian? An apparent annual variation of their trajectories observed by Francesco Sizzi and others in 1612, 1613 also provided a powerful argument against both the Ptolemaic system and the geoheliocentric system of Tycho Brahe. A dispute over claimed priority in the discovery of sunspots and in their interpretation led Galileo to a long and bitter feud with the Jesuit Christoph Scheiner. In the middle was Mark Weiser, to whom Scheiner had announced his discovery and who asked Galileo for his opinion. Both of them were unaware of Johannes Fabricius' earlier observation and publication of sunspots. Okay. Now we talk about the Milky Way and stars. Okay, Galileo observed the Milky Way, previously believed to be nebulous, and found it to be a multitude of stars packed so densely that they appeared from Earth to be clouds. He located many other stars too distant to be visible with the naked eye. He observed the double star Mizar and Ursa Major in 1617. Wow. In the Starry Messenger, as we spoke about before, Galileo reported that stars appeared as mere blazes of light, essentially unaltered in appearance by the telescope, and contrasted them to planets, which the telescope revealed to be disks. But shortly thereafter, in his letters on sunspots, he reported that the telescope revealed the shapes of both stars and planets to be quite round. From that point forward, he continued to report that telescopes showed the roundness of stars, and that stars seen through the telescope measured a few seconds of arc in diameter. He also devised a method for measuring the apparent size of a star without a telescope, as described in his dialogue concerning the two chief world systems. His method was to hang a thin rope in his line of sight to the star and measure the maximum distance from which it would wholly obscure the star. From his measurements of the distance and the width of the rope, he could calculate the angle subtended by the star at his viewing point. God, he even had like a primitive way to measure how big these planets and stars were. Okay. In his dialogue, he reported that he had found the apparent diameter of a star of first magnitude to be no more than 5 arc seconds, and that one of 6 magnitude to be about 5/6 arc seconds. Like most astronomers of his day, Galileo did not recognize that the apparent size of stars that he measured were spurious, caused by diffraction and atmospheric distortion. He did not represent the true size of stars. However, Galileo's values were much smaller than previous estimates of the apparent sizes of the brightest stars, such as those made by Brahe, and enabled Galileo to counter anti-Copernican arguments, such as those made by Tycho, and these stars would have had to be absurdly large for their annual parallaxes to be undetectable. Other astronomers, such as Simon Marius, Giovanni Battista Riccoli, and Martinus Hortensius, made similar measurements of stars, and Marius and Riccoli concluded the smaller sizes were not small enough to answer Tycho's argument. Okay, and he had a theory of the tides of our ocean. Okay, Cardinal Bellarmine had written in 1615 that the Copernican system would not be defended without a true physical demonstration that the sun does not circle the earth, but the earth circles the sun. Galileo considered his theory of the tides to provide such evidence. The theory was so important to him that he originally intended to call his dialogue concerning the two chief world systems the dialogue on the ebb and flow of the sea. The reference to tides was removed from the title by order of the Inquisition. Religion again. For Galileo, the tides were caused by the sloshing back and forth of water in the seas as a point on the Earth's surface sped up and slowed down because of the Earth's rotation on its axis and revolution around the sun. He circulated his first account of the tides in 1616, addressed to Cardinal Orsini. His theory gave the first insight into the importance of the shapes of ocean basins in the size and timing of tides. He correctly accounted, for instance, for the negligible tides halfway along the Adriatic Sea compared to those at the ends. As a general account of the cause of tides, however, his theory was a failure. If his theory was correct, there would only be one high tide per day. Galileo and his contemporaries were aware of this inadequacy because there are 2 daily high tides at Venice instead of 1. About 12 hours apart, Galileo dismissed this anomaly as a result of several secondary causes, including the shape of the sea, its depth, and other factors. Albert Einstein later expressed the opinion that Galileo developed his fascinating arguments and accepted them uncritically out of a desire for physical proof of the motion of the Earth. Galileo also dismissed the idea, known from antiquity, and by his contemporary Johannes Kepler, that the moon caused the tides. Galileo also took no interest in Kepler's elliptical orbits of the planets. Galileo continued to argue in favor of his theory of tides, considering it the ultimate proof of Earth's motion. Okay. All right, let's talk about his scientific methods and just say the astronomy that he accomplished over his lifetime. Okay, Galileo made original contributions to the science of motion through an innovative combination of experiment and mathematics. More typical of science at the time were the qualitative studies of William Gilbert. I couldn't see that. Sorry, guys. On magnetism and electricity, Galileo's father, Vincenzo Galilei, a lutenist and music theorist, had performed experiments establishing perhaps the oldest known nonlinear relation in physics. For a stretched string, the pitch varies at the square root of the tension. These observations lay within the framework of the Pythagorean tradition of music, well known to instrument makers, which included the fact that subdividing a string by a whole number produces a harmonious scale. Thus, a limited amount of mathematics had long related music and physical science, and young Galileo could see his own father's observations expand on that tradition. Okay, Galileo was one of the first modern thinkers to clearly state that the laws of nature are mathematical. The assayer, he wrote, "Philosophy is written in this grand book, the universe. It is written in the language of mathematics, and its characters are triangles, circles, and other geometric figures. His mathematical analysis are a further development of a tradition employed by late scholastic natural philosophers, which Galileo learned when he studied philosophy. His work marked another step towards this eventual separation of science from both philosophy and religion. A major development in human thought, he was often willing to change his views in accordance with observations. In order to perform his experiments, Galileo had to set up standards of length and time so that measurement made on different days and in different laboratories could be compared in a reproducible fashion. This provided a reliable foundation on which to confirm mathematical laws using inductive reasoning. He truly was a genius, guys. Galileo showed a modern appreciation for the proper relationship between mathematics, theoretical physics, and experimental physics. He understood the parabola, both in terms of conic sections and in the terms of the ordinate. Varying as the square of the abscissa, Galileo further asserted that the parabola was the theoretically ideal trajectory of a uniformly accelerated projectile in the absence of air resistance or other disturbances. He conceded that there are limits to the validity of this theory. Nothing on theoretical grounds that a projectile trajectory of a size comparable to that of the Earth could not possibly be a parabola. No way. But he nevertheless maintained that for distances up to the range of the artillery of his day, the deviation of a projectile's trajectory from parabola would be only very slight. Astronomy. That's it. Using his refracting telescope invention, Galileo observed in late 1609 that the surface of the moon is not smooth. Early the next year, he observed the 4 largest moons of Jupiter. Later in 1610, he observed the phases of Venus, a proof of heliocentrism, as well as Saturn, though he thought the planet's rings were 2 other planets. 1612, he observed Neptune and noted its motion, but did not identify it as a planet. Galileo made studies of sunspots, the Milky Way, and made various observations, including how to measure their apparent size without a telescope. Wow. Okay, guys, that is going to do it. What impresses you most about Galileo? I mean, the man was doing things 400 years ago that we're still doing now. Definitely the modern father of astronomy. Very cool. I like it. You know, as a kid, I was always really interested in looking in the telescope. My brother had a really nice telescope. And also one of my good friends had a really, really great telescope. And we used to go out to the countryside where there was no light from the city. And then we would observe the stars. So awesome. So cool. There's so much out there that we don't know about. And this man was so interested that he started looking at it, and they probably looked at him like he was crazy, which really bothers me. All of the good, smart people from back in time were considered crazy. But let me tell you, Galileo was not. He was just trying to be a pioneer in space observation. And he was very successful. And now he gets his credit 400 years later. Good for you, Galileo. Okay, guys, that was great. Anything space related, this guy loves it. So maybe we'll do some more famous space explorers in the future. Until then, everybody have a great Sunday. And we'll be back with number 82 next week. And I'm sure it's going to be fabulous. So until then, everybody have a great week. We'll see you soon. Ciao.